Good evening and welcome to News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adesanwe in Accra. My name is Solis Rose Corte. Now to the major highlights of the day. Private legal practitioner Martin Pebu is calling for the special prosecutor Martin Amidu to take over the probe against GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi, who is being investigated for defrauding by false pretense. Speaking on New Day on TV3, Martin Pebu maintains special prosecutor Martin Amidu is better placed to investigate the allegations against Mr. Nyantakyi instead of the police CID, whose boss he argues was tainted in the corruption probe against two deputy chiefs of staff. And the Greater Accra and Ashanti regions top the charts in major crimes, including robberies and carjacking within the first 5 months of this year. The national statistics also showed a marginal increase in major offences compared to the first 5 months of the last 3 years. These were disclosed by the Director of Operations at the CID headquarters, ACP Joseph Oklu Jamra in Accra. The Ghana Armed Forces has sacked 17 recruits for failing their basic fitness tests and continuous rudiment testing. The recruits were sacked for failing to meet several opportunities to redeem themselves. Several others who were also placed on the same watch list eventually redeemed themselves and are continuing with the rest of the training schedule. Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Kwesi Osei, has indicated mental health facilities in the country might be closed down by the end of June. In an interview with the media, he said donor funding will cease by the end of June, which will lead to the closure of the facilities. Right, let's start the bulletin with issues regarding the police. And the Ghana Police says it will henceforth not spare any group that attacks a police officer or police facility. According to the police service, there's no business holding themselves up as police officers if they cannot defend themselves. Director General of Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, PIPS, COP Nathan Kofi Boakye gave the warning at a media encounter in Accra.
Ghana continues to witness a worrying trend of people taking up arms against police officers or facilities, mostly over issues the service is mandated to deal with. A number of personnel lost their lives or were maimed as a result of the ugly development, whilst a number of property and facilities worth millions of cedis were completely destroyed through these mob actions. This year alone, a number of such incidents have been recorded in parts of the country, with the latest being the Tumu Station attack. Responding to questions at a media encounter in Accra, the Director General of Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, COP Nathan Kofi Boakye, described the development as lawless, unacceptable, and can no longer be condoned by the service.
You don't attack a police station and expect that we treat you with, because look, if we can't protect ourselves, we cannot protect anybody. And going forward, let me sound a word of caution. Police are not going to sit down to be sitting ducks for any group of people to attack police and go scot-free. We are making that clear. No group of people henceforth will attack the police and go scot-free.
He argued no one has a right to beat the law onto him or herself, even if the police is deemed to have committed a crime.
If we cannot protect ourselves, we cannot protect anybody. No matter the malfeasance or whatever police does, nobody, and I mean nobody, has a right to attack any policeman, and for that matter, police station. So any group of people who attempts to attack any police station henceforth will be met with the necessary fire that it deserves.
COP Kofi Boakye urged the public to avail themselves to the laws of the country and ensure that due processes are followed in finding remedy to challenges.
Now let's further interrogate this issue and speak with security analyst Adams Bona. He's joined us via Skype. Good evening and many thanks for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening to your cherished viewers. Good evening, yeah.
Okay. Now, the police is warning that it would not spare any groups of persons who attacked an officer or their facility. Would you say this warning is in the right direction?
Yes, I think, yes, it is in the right direction. I have, it's one thing I have said repeatedly over the period that there shouldn't be any reason why a group of persons or an individual would attack a police officer or attack a police station, because the moment we do that, the foundation of our democracy, would be called into question. And so it shouldn't be done. But whilst we are cautioning people to, be careful not to attack police stations or police officers, let's also caution police officers who sometimes take the laws into their own hands and sometimes brutalize, civilians or individuals, and because they are in uniform. And so would also urge the police administration to look into, citizen-police relation, try to, look at how that can be enhanced, because without that dialogue, then we are going to have some of these nasty situations developing. And apart from that, the mentality of some police officers, we need to look at it, and their training regime, we need to, probably look at how the training is done. The 21st century policing shouldn't be that regimental, but I would want to say that their training somehow is almost like the way the military officers are trained. And so sometimes instead of using dialogue and using, a peaceful way of resolving issues, sometimes, heavy-handedness. And so which sometimes results into some of the excesses we have seen. And sometimes people die in this process, which I would say is unfortunate. But under no circumstances should anybody, a group of persons, attack any of our police stations or police officers. For that, I would say what Nathan Kofi Boakye said, COP Kofi Boakye said, is right. But I would also go further and say they should look into some of these issues I've raised. In doing that, I think civilians and the police officers, we can live side by side, helping to fight crime and making Ghana a more peaceful country to live in.
Okay. Kindly do stay on the line. I would like to pick your thoughts on our next story, and this one is regarding the military, where the Ghana Armed Forces has sacked 17 recruits for failing their basic fitness test and continuous rudiment testing. Now, basically, this happened earlier today, and the recruits were sacked for failing to meet several opportunities to redeem themselves, and several others who were also placed in the same watch list eventually redeemed themselves and are continuing with the rest of the training schedule. Now, the 17 failed were sent packing on Saturday, 26 May 2018, that is today, and recruits into the Ghana Armed Forces are expected to be physically, medically and academically sound. Adams Bona.
Yes, I'm here.
Right. Now, let's talk about this particular issue. And many have raised the concern that releasing these recruits back into, civilian space might not necessarily be a good idea, considering their military training. What is your take on that?
Well, thank you very much. I would say the military somehow have done a good job, because the military, all over the world is not for, the soft-hearted. It's not for people who, cannot, do what is expected as military officers. But you realize that in the last maybe decade or 2 decades ago, because of the influence of some politicians who bring in their kids who sometimes sleep in air-conditioned rooms, throughout their lives, they've never, probably killed an ant before. And some of these people are given spaces, as against those who probably are fit enough to stand the rudimental training when it comes to military exercise. And so for me, I would say that, first of all, it's good to send these people home. But while sending them home internationally, we need to have a register, a register where these people, their names are entered into it. And so wherever they find themselves, they are supposed to report to the nearest police station, informing the police, the district commander or the divisional commander that I am, a dismissed, military trainee. And so I find myself in your jurisdiction, so that if there is any trouble within that vicinity, that person probably would be invited for investigations. but we are yet to have that registry in place. We don't have it. And so I would urge that whilst, recruits who go on training, police, the army, and the other security agencies, some of them are sent home, let's keep that registry so that when it is done, these people, we are able to identify and keep a track on them. We are able to trace them, know where they are. We are not saying they shouldn't work. We are not saying they shouldn't be able to move freely, but we need to know where they are so that, because some, definitely they would have been trained to handle firearms, arm and disarm. The only thing, if you look at the story, they didn't pass the basic fitness test, which I think is very important for every military trainee.
Adams, would you agree with those who are concerned that there could be a possible security threat?
Oh, yes, there is a possible security threat because if you train, how long would it take to, if you know these terrorists who are trained, a week or 2 weeks, how to, dismantle an AK-47 and shoot, and you are sent in there to go and do a lot of damage. And so these people would have been trained from, how to do a lot of things. And so, yes, we should be concerned. And it is out of that concern that we need to ask the military to provide us better particulars. They should let us know how, these people are going to be, brought back into our society. How are they going to make sure that these people wouldn't cause any harm to us? And I hope that they are able to collaborate with the police and make sure these people, at every given point, we know where they are, or else it is a danger to our society.
All right. Thank you very much, Adams Bona, joining us via Skype. We've been talking about the 17 recruits that were dismissed from the military academy. Let's move away from that and do stories regarding illegal mining, where the Eastern Region Forward Operating Base of Operation Vanguard last Friday arrested 8 illegal miners at Monopraso in the Brim North District of the Eastern Region. The team chanced upon freshly dug earth and heard sounds of working machinery. They approached and arrested 3 people on the Pra River working with Shangfans. Now, the team also arrested a sponsor of the illegal miners, Nana Bafo, 46 years old. The suspects and items seized were handed over to the New Brim police for further investigations and prosecution. Other suspects include Benjamin Nsia, 23, Adam Taming, 49, Nkrumah Robert, 43, and Daniel Mensah, 29. The rest are Gado Timolda, 32, Eric Kofi Boama, 38, and Isaac Dadzi, 28 years old. Items seized by the military team include excavators, 1 Mitsubishi pickup truck, 1 Nissan Almera vehicle, and 13 assorted mining equipments. You're still watching News at 10. We'll be right back with some more news updates. Do stay. Welcome back to News at 10. Let's do some more stories. And private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu is calling for the special prosecutor Martin Amidu to take over the probe against GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi, who is being investigated for defrauding by false pretenses. Now, speaking on New Day, Martin Kpebu maintains special prosecutor Martin Amidu is better placed to investigate the allegations against Mr. Nyantakyi instead of the police CID, whose boss he argues was tainted in the corruption probe against 2 deputy chiefs of staff.
Looking at this case, it will be better suited for the special prosecutor to deal with it. Most especially considering that in the not too distant past, when A+ matter came up, the CID boss was on tape to have, trying to show how to deal with it. I remember even Kwekubaku dealt with it on Joy FM. It didn't inspires. There was no confidence in the manner in which she dealt with it. So for me, it's better. Mr. Amidu, any day, if you put the CID boss and Mr. Amidu here, any day, I'm sure citizens will vote that Mr. Amidu is the right person to deal with this matter, not the CID. A few of the executive committee members will get caught up in this. There will be people in charge of referees who will be in trouble. There will be
Michael, you sound like you've seen this thing.
I have a fair idea, but I think that there will be a few executive committee members caught in this, and ultimately, what it could mean, I think, will be a change in the direction of the leadership of the
of the Ghana Football Association. But I think this whole thing fits in with a lot of the things that's happened in the past, and that's I think is the reason why Anas will get some of the results. It basically was following a pattern of the way things work in the football industry.
Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Kwesi Osei, has indicated mental health facilities in the country might be closed down by the end of June. In an interview with the media, he said donor funding will cease by the end of June, which will lead to the closure of the facilities. Godfrey Tanam has more.
Government's inability to release funds to the Mental Health Authority is taking a toll on the operations of the facilities, affecting patients especially. The authority has constantly complained about government's failure to release funds for the past 6 months. The CEO of the authority, Dr. Kwesi Osei, bemoaned how ineffective the facilities have become without funding, indicating mental health in the country is under threat.
By the end of June, because our relationship with the development partner is ending in June ending, we don't have funding, we might be forced to close down the mental health authority because we can't run it. A time may come that the psychiatric hospitals cannot admit patients because they don't have money to feed the patients. They'll even be forced to ask relatives to come for their patients who are already on the wards. And remember, and I keep saying that it's a national security issue if you can't admit patients.
He said if Parliament passes the legislative instrument that will govern the mental health law without including processes of getting funds, the law will come to nothing.
What we are really hoping will happen at the end of the day is that we have our own funding mechanism established. And we've been talking about a mental health levy established. Parliament seems not exactly very comfortable towards establishing the mental health levy. But if they don't, then they should also establish another funding mechanism, a trust or whatever. But we need a regular and constant sustainable source of funding, rather than always going a begging, and when we are considered as the last, the crumbs are given to us as an afterthought. That certainly will not help our mental health care.
Psychiatric hospitals have been plagued with some problems in the past, with cases where patients have to be turned away due to the absence of basic supplies. The Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital in the Central Region threatened to discharge over 100 patients due to lack of funds to run the facilities about a month ago.
A security expert and Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Professor Vladimir Intwidanso, says the Supreme Court's ruling on the long-standing Bimbala chieftaincy dispute is not a panacea for peace. Speaking on the sidelines of a high-level dialogue in commemoration of International Day for United Nations Peacekeepers in Accra, Professor Intwidanso called for stronger security mechanisms in the midst of the jubilation.
In adjudication, someone is wrong, someone is right. And whilst we are adjudicating, I've always asked for some arbitrative processes behind the scenes to go on so that things are withdrawn from the courts in that order. This ruling is not going to end the antagonism between the factions. Whilst we should respect Supreme Court or any other court decisions, I would believe that the government and all interested parties should work underground to make sure that the court situation does not lead to more bad blood. I'm saying this on the hindsight of Dagbon, for example. The Supreme Court decision did not end the Dagbon crisis. It is simply because adjudications are based on facts and data, what is before them. Other nuances that may not have been documented, cultural practices, nuances, that sort of thing. This is what is exacerbating the Dagbon crisis. Even though there was an adjudication process, we haven't seen an end to Dagbon. From that angle, I would say that whilst I pray the two factions accept and find a way forward, we need to also help them from arbitrative processes that will bring about lasting peace. The government is taking preemptive measures, knowing very well that in adjudicative processes, such situations will happen. One faction is not going to accept. And we should help that faction to finding a way of or living with it. Conflict is endemic in society. Conflict will come. But we need to use this process to transform the conflict into something else, rather than perpetuating the conflict because I don't agree. In adjudication, it's like losing a fight and you live to fight another day. So government is taking only preemptive measures and not necessarily going to support one faction.
Now, residents of Mayajong in the Greater Accra region are distressed over the sighting of some buildings on waterways in the area. As the rains set in, residents want city authorities to demolish such buildings to prevent flooding.
Residents of the area say they never experienced flooding in the past, but with the emergence of such buildings on waterways, the story changed. Now, with the slightest rains, the number of houses within the area get flooded. They lament the situation poses a threat to them, urging the assembly to take action before the situation gets out of hand. But although the municipal assembly gave a deadline for developers to stop the construction, works are ongoing. They contend the buildings are sited on waterways, blocking the free flow of water from Ashalibokwe to the University of Ghana farms. They want city authorities to intervene to prevent any imminent disaster.
The last time it rained, the whole place was flooded. No car can move out of the place. Access road that we have constructed with our own money has been damaged by this construction owner. We shouldn't wait till somebody die before NADMO and the rest will come in.
Anytime we complain, the property owners bring landguards to assault us.
With the Ghana Meteorological Agency predicting more rains this year, residents are desperate and are counting on city authorities for a swift action.
Well, that's how we wrap up News at 10 here live from the News Hub at Adesanwe in Accra. My name is Solis Rose Porter. We've also been live on DSTV channel 279. You can always get interactive with us via our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, as well as Facebook. And as well, for more news updates, visit www.3news.com for that. That's all. Good night.